today, Grant Robertson. So I've known Grant a long time and I'm looking forward to hearing you today, Grant. Could we start off with grace, please, Denzel?
Life is for living, love is for giving, friends are for caring, food is for sharing. For life, for love, for friends and food, we give you thanks, O God. Amen.
Okay, thank you, Denzel. Now, just to remind you before we start the business of the day to please turn your cell phones down or off, ideally. We have a guest to welcome. Olivier, would you like to introduce your guest, please?
Yes, I can introduce you Veronica from the New Zealand Red Cross.
I don't think we have any visiting Rotarians because no one let Bob know at the front door. Do we have any world travellers who have just returned? Hi, g'day, welcome back. And those who are about to go away, if they would like to, no one's leaving, they're all staying for the rugby on Saturday. So, birthdays, Johnny Johnson, so Johnny's here today, he's got a birthday 1st of June. Bruce Christensen, also here today, birthday the 1st of June, and Ian Prisk, the 3rd of June. Right, now we're going to move on to the Sergeant, and Grant is our Sergeant today.
Thank you, President, members, fellows and guests. So today I decided we need to do an anti-sergeant session. So anyone who ever served in the Army, Navy or Air Force, Scouts, Boys Brigade, Girl Guides or Brownies or Pippins, if you were a Rosebud, was anyone a Rosebud? A Rosebud, believe it or not, was what Brownies and Guides were originally called by Baden-Powell. So stand up if you ever served in any of those ranks, just for a moment. Army, Air Force, Scouts, Boys Brigade. Please sit down if you never obtained a rank above private or sixer. So if you are just one of the troops, sit down. Right, the rest of you, those that are standing can pay because you clearly overachieved and need to have your wallets and purses lightened. Annan's not here, is he, today? But Susan, you could stand. You actually need to pay double because, of course, your husband reached the absolute highest pinnacle available in New Zealand. Now, for all you guides out there and a few of you scouts, there's a guide law and it clearly states a few things. Be honest and trustworthy, be friendly and cheerful, be a good team member, be responsible for what I say and I do, respect and help other people, use my time wisely and abilities wisely, face challenges and learn from experiences, and care for the environment. So if you've ever been a guide, can you please put your money in the plate if you have done any of this in the last week? As remember, this is an anti-sergeant session. And any of you blokes out there that have done the same thing, you'd better pay up as well. There was a bit of a sporting contest over the weekend and I loved watching the Welsh. Can anyone tell me when the Welsh last won? 1953, 19th of December 1953. Can anyone tell me the score? I think it was 13-8, wasn't it? Was anyone at the game? No. Well, then you can all pay for missing such a fantastic sporting triumph. Did anyone go to the game in Auckland? You did? Did you pay for your tickets?
I'm not paying the cost.
If not, it's $135 and I'll have it on the plate, thank you. Who's going this weekend? A fair number of you. Can you stand up if you brought your own tickets? Right, if you didn't buy them, that also means that you can put a whole lot of money in there. Also, those that are going and didn't pay for them or in a corporate box, stand up for a minute. Oh, no one's going to admit it. I was going to say they're the Rotarians you want to befriend because maybe they'll get you in next time. Anyway, that's a lot of money for that. Okay, now finishing off. Over the weekend I had a wonderful opportunity to go with a fellow Rotarian and watch the game on the large screen, which was a great evening. And really I only would have had that opportunity because of the value of Rotary and Rotary Fellowship. However, just remember this is an anti-sergeant session. So anyone who has ever had a bad thought about a fellow Rotarian, stood up a Rotarian, said no to the sergeant session, not come to Rotary without putting in an apology or pushed into the queue, you guys are all exempt. The rest of you can top up some more in the payment. Finally, if you all stand up, the last one sitting down is next week's sergeant. If anyone wants to be sergeant next week, I do have a gap. Come and see me afterwards. I'd love you to fill it in for me. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a couple of 5-minute or 4-minute 35-second speakers. We're going to start with Helen Algar, who's going to report back on the forum last week. And then following Helen, Olivier, if you'd like to just come up to save time, and Olivier's going to be presenting on the Red Cross. But once Helen's finished, thanks.
President, fellows and guests, I'm going to have to talk really fast. Thank you. That one. So the Rotary Forum was held on the 31st of May. The forum is offered annually by our club as a service to the community. It's an idea that grew from the club's strategy session in Colleen Singleton's year as president. The idea is that we use our networks and expertise and influence to create an opportunity to think about and talk about a really topical issue. And we invite people who are interested, people who can make decisions, and to try and spark an idea in the air. These have been our topics, ranging from the earthquake to the future of Wellington, the Constitution, NGOs, the privacy and security dilemma, and this year, our 2016, our first one, slipped a bit over Christmas because of the availability of Sir Michael Cullen, so we're doing 2 this year. Yeah. So the questions we asked this year are: what kind of world exists between the shadows of threat and our right to privacy and security? And how much do we know, or should we know? And how much can citizens trust authorities and global corporations to make the rules that we have to live by? The answers came from Sir Michael Cullen, who talked about his publication, his report, Intelligence and Security in a Free Society, that he and Dame Patsy Reddy did. He provided a context for the questions, and he made a quite strong case for combining NZSAS and GCSB. We had a bunch of academics: Robert Asen, who focused on principle of individual liberty, Professor Miriam Lips, who said that very little is now private and talked about New Zealanders' attitudes to that, their general acceptance that little is now private, and Paul Buchanan, who talked about the bulk collection of data and mass surveillance. Russell Stanners came next, Russell Stanners spoke earlier as from Vodafone and as our sponsor, and he talked a lot about malware and malevolent attacks and the exponential increases in this, and how much we don't see in our inboxes because of what they're weeding out. Our next speaker, or the next speaker to talk about, was Karen Coots, who talked about Indigenous data sovereignty, the collective ownership of data about Maori and determination of what happens to it, and information for Maori, not just about Maori. And Karen stepped in when one of our speakers got caught out of town at 6:30 in the morning, and Karen stepped in and wrote a presentation in the back corner. It was great. Anjum Rahman from the Islamic Women's Council talked about greater public discourse and more careful interpretation of data, and the small proportion of mass shootings and terrorism that are by Muslims. And I know we have another attack this morning, but actually she stressed the importance of looking at the data and the fact that it's a very small proportion of mass shootings and terrorism that are actually by Muslims. Thomas Beagle from the Council of Civil Liberties talked about how powerless people feel given the amount of data collected about them. two government officials, Peter Devoy from Immigration but formerly from Police, talked about the intensive use of data to deal with the huge number of people visiting or migrating to New Zealand. And I thought I know a lot about what goes on at the border, but I think I was really taken aback at the amount of data that they need and collect about the number of people. And John Edwards, the Privacy Commissioner, talked about the need for proportionality when intruding on people's privacy, the fact that you have to do it, but to think about it and think about proportionality. Chris Finlayson came and instead of being one of our opening speakers, managed to get there late, given an issue that blew up, and spoke at the end, which turned out to be really good because he reframed the issue about the balance between transparency and security rather than privacy. Talked about the fact that government is considering the recommendations from Sir Michael Cullen and Dame Patsy Reddy. He congratulated the club on promoting the issue and encouraged public submissions to the review of the new legislation. And two Rotarians said that people at their table had said that as a result of the day they were going to put in a submission. We had 3 results worth mentioning. People commented numerous times on how special it is that our Rotary Club can attract such a range of high calibre speakers. We had a mean satisfaction rating from the attendees of 8 out of 10, which is the same as for the other years, except on the Constitution we got 9. And we think that's quite a high score because we had quite a few foreign students who probably didn't keep up with presentations as well as others. And it was a financial success and it more than covered costs. I'm nearly finished. I'm talking very fast. In terms of thanks, I want to comment on our partnership with VIC, the Centre for Lifelong Learning. They do all the work on the forum each year as a pro bono work for event management and advice to us, especially Darcy Thompson and Louise Kurtzer. This is the club team. The new members, so Alan came in this year as our chair and commentator and handled the whole thing with his usual gravitas and aplomb. Karen for stepping in as a speaker in the first year that she's been involved in the forum. Hannah Wignall, who's Mark Woodard's offsider at work, who did all our social media. Tony Hassett, who stepped in for a little while as committee chair when Mark Wheeler got busier. And then those of us who've been working on 5 forums, Mark Wheeler, Mark Woodard, Jeff Baskin, Tricia Warbridge, John Fraser, John Cook, Fraser Carson, even though he's no longer a member of the club, who does all of our website and programming, Patrick McCardle and me, and logistics on the day, Joan, Colleen and Hewitt helped out. So it would be nice if all those people stood up and received some acknowledgement, please. Those few who are here. Thanks, Kerry.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. President Kerry and fellow members of the Rotary, thank you very much. I think I've got 2 seconds per slide now. It's going to go quick. Okay. I just want to share with you, I will say some things that I'm doing on the side of my work, and hopefully try to convince other colleagues, or I would say if you know someone that is looking for a little bit of challenge, or how it is easy to associate a challenge with charity. So that's my story. Here we go. We all know about the Red Cross, and speaking with Susan just earlier, she said that the Red Cross is a very trusty organization. It's been here for many, many years, and I want to acknowledge Elodie, who's right here with us today. Thank you for coming, sharing this moment with me. So they've all been here around, I would say, globally, whatever it's a cyclone, or it's a earthquake, or I would say a crisis like refugees, and they've always been here. I've got a little video, but I'm not going to play it today. I don't need this. Here we go. So my story. I've been running to raise awareness for Red Cross since, I would say, a couple of years now, 2008. But when I was 18, I went to a trip in Spain, and instead of staying 2 weeks, I stayed only 2 days. I was burned on my body with hot milk, with, I would say, the host person. And the first organization who was helping me was the Red Cross, so that always helped me, I would say, to keep in my mind that if I have to give back, it would be the Red Cross. So when I start running marathons, I say, well, the first I would say charities that will help it differently then. So that's me, running with a little singlet. I just gotta go fast. Here we go. Here we go. Anyway, I've been running since, I will say, 2008, like I say. So far I run about 68 marathons. I'll do another one this Sunday, another one the following Sunday. And so far I raised about $11,000 for the Red Cross. And every year I'm doing a special event, which is more than the marathon. I'm doing the ultra marathon. An ultra marathon is more than 42.195. I did recently the 100 kilometers in the Blue Mountain 2 weeks ago. Here we go. Here we go. So I did 68 marathons, 7 ultra marathon, 3 full Ironman. Yeah, the list going on and on. And I set up, just it's easy to combine charities, what I want to say. I set up a fundraising page, a Facebook page, Instagram page, and last few years I've been running Tower River Marathon, the Ultra Marathon, and next year I'm going to do a big one. This big one will be the Marathon des Sables. It's 250 kilometers in the desert. So the legs will be between 30 and 90 kilometers. Temperature rise from 50 degrees and at night drop to 3 degrees. And self-sufficient, so you need to carry everything with you, your food, everything. You only provided tent at the end of each legs. And that's been, I would say, ranked as the toughest foot race on earth. So that's a great challenge for me. So there's been 30,000 competitors since 1986. You can imagine a lot of water to drink. They give you between 12 to 22 liters per day, depending on the length of the race. So you need to bring all your food, and you need to take care about your feet. That's the main thing that you need to think. So you can imagine there's a lot of support, medical staff as well. There's a little bit of touch of mandate. All this for this medal, I guess. But for me, it's more about the medal. It's as well for the charity. So that's the sponsors of the events, big corporate, I would say, people. There's a lot of exposure around the world, social media, I would say international, national exposure, corporate sponsorship. See, 81,000 fans on Facebook, that's huge. And that's growing a lot. Before this year's rates, there were 50,000, so they go very much. TVs as well, a lot of exposure around the globe. And for me, my little story, I've got some great people who are supporting me. On the left, I've got Richard and Rebecca. They are volunteers, they're helping me to put all this strategy around. They should be here to present. And I've got my lovely family as well supporting me. So we've got t-shirts, we've got banners and everything. And we're creating some, I would say, logos on the uniform. It will be similar as this. There's been some media around, I don't know if you've seen, but already without talking about the sponsor, there's been a lot of media around, I would say, this race. I'm just going to go quick. What I'm proposing, I'm giving like sponsorship, I would say, a proposal for each of the company where I can talk to their team, I can talk about my preparation before, during and after. So hopefully I'm talking to you today, but maybe in a year's time I can give you a little bit more insight about how the race was. Moving. Here we go. So that's the cost of the, I would say, the race. It's about 10 grand to register. And what I did put an extra dimension to this race. I said, well, if I raise 10 grand for me participating to this, what about if I give 10 grand as well for the Red Cross? So I just need 10 corporate sponsors who give me $2,000 each. There you go. So far, I've got 16. So, and I keep taking more and more and more. Because that's the beauty. I mean, people are supporting, and I'm not just going to limit for this. So, I put some flyers, but if you know someone around your company or any other organization who would like to sponsor me, just let me know. You've got my contact details, or otherwise you can go on my fundraising page, and you're very welcome to put a donation. Thank you very much.
And he does all of that whilst running the best hotel in Wellington. And I'm not sure where we've given you permission to have leave next year to do this run. So, right, we're going to have 2 inductions, or we're going to run out of time to hear our main speaker. So I wondered if James could come up, and also the 2 introducers of our 2 new members today, please. And our 2 new inductees as well, everyone.
Right, President Kerry, guests and members. It's my pleasure to introduce our new member, Owen Gibson. Actually, more of you will know Owen than know me, actually, so that's kind of how things should work in this Rotary Club. If you're a newish member, you should be responsible for bringing more members in. So, as I sit on the membership committee, I need to put that in each week, or everybody needs to put that in each week. Owen's a partner at PwC. For his sins prior to that, though, he actually was a partner in the firm that apparently used to be, or still is, our auditor. But whether he had too much integrity to be our auditor, I'm not sure. He's very actively involved with a range of industries, particularly the IT, technology, emerging technology businesses as a partner at PwC, is a published author on governance in New Zealand through CCH. I haven't read the book yet, but I look forward to colouring it in. And a passionate sports fan. You'll find him any Saturday or weekday possible at Westpac Stadium, and yes, he'll be there this Saturday. So pleased to have him as a new member of the club.
I'm pleased to introduce Oliver Evertson. Now, Oliver has a long-term connection with this club, both through his grandfather, our oldest member, Denzel Brown, but also as a former Ryler scholar dating back from the year that James Austin was president. Oliver is currently a consultant with Senate SHJ, working on social change, government relations and strategic communications project. He's a keen snooker player, so we've signed him up already for next year's Clayton's Billiards. He got a Prime Minister's scholarship 2 years ago and spent a year in Taiwan, as a result of which he is now quite a fluent Mandarin speaker. He will be our youngest member, so reducing the average age of the club by quite a significant degree. And I'm pleased that he's able to join us today.